it as much as I do when your stomach growls in the presence of other people? It happens more when you're hungry. I want more food. I want more food. Your stomach is a bulge in your digestive tract and is located not under your navel, like many people think, but under your ribs. When it's empty, it's a flabby, wrinkled tube. When it's full of food, it's pear-shaped. Its muscles are restless and constantly changing form. Burps form in the upper part, close to the opening of the esophagus. The muscle at the bottom opening contracts and relaxes at the appropriate times to eject contents. There are 3 muscle layers that crisscross each other, and so they can squeeze the food powerfully. Well, this isn't a health program about food and eating, but it is about appetite. Some of our cravings are for food, but we also have enormous appetites for other things. Let's start thinking about that by watching our private eye examine the things our society throws away.
Wonder what people are throwing out in the garbage these days. Isn't that a shame? Looks brand new. Perfume. Probably didn't do the job. Half a bottle left. Smells good to me. This is what gets me, when they throw food like this away with all those starving people. Watch. Still works. Probably out of style, or it's the wrong color for somebody. Now, why would anybody throw out new running shoes? It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Gloves. Perfectly wearable. No holes. What's the matter with people anyways? Where is the common sense gone? Use something for a day and throw it away. Where's society headed? It's time somebody got up and did something about it.
That's sad. He gets into trouble for our garbage. I'll be back with more of the third story after this break. Like the rumblings in your stomach when it wants more food, something deep inside of yourself tells you that you want more and more nice things. If only I'd have more money to spend, or if only I'd win a big lottery, then I could get whatever I want. Then I'd really be happy. Or would I?
Oh, sure is good to get into bed after such a long day.
I'm so glad we decided on the Mediterranean cruise. I really do need a break.
Was the new VCR delivered today?
Yes, so now you can tape your sports on yours, and I can tape my soaps on mine.
Princess, we're entering a new era. Night, honey.
Good night. cash or on credit?
Credit.
What shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
We think it's a hard life when we can't just go out and get all the things we'd like to have to make us happy. It can be even harder to give up the things we own, the things we've worked hard to get and feel strongly possessive about. Imagine yourself in a situation where you'd have to leave behind most of your things and decide on only 2 or 3 to take along. How would you go about making a decision like that?
Darlene? Hi. How you doing?
Okay.
How was your day at school?
Okay, I guess.
Only okay?
Well, we had a substitute teacher in English, and all she did was yap the whole class. I practically fell asleep.
Well, didn't you take notes or something to stay awake?
We don't take notes in English.
Well, how do you learn?
Well, usually the teacher gives us notes, but this person only knew how to talk.
That could be boring.
Yeah. I got a problem. My dad got himself a job in Kenya.
Kenya, doing what?
Well, he'll be setting up a branch office there. He's in computers.
Computers, that's big business.
Well, the bad news is that we might be moving in a few months, maybe even 6 weeks from now.
So soon?
And that might even be before school is out.
Oh, wow, that's not very good at all.
Well, the worst thing is that my mom's already getting after me to get rid of some of my stuff. She insists that we only bring essentials, but none of my stuff is junk.
I can't imagine getting rid of any of my stuff either.
Like choosing between my typewriter and my ghetto blaster. Which do I take?
Well, are either of them essential? Can you do without either of them?
Well, I can see Mom's point. Shipping is expensive. But I got most of my stuff with babysitting money, and I can't bear to do all that work again just to buy new stuff.
If they need sitters in Kenya.
If you were me, what would you keep?
Let me see. Your typewriter's great for essays, as long as you're in school. But I can see how you'd have trouble giving up your music, too. I wish I could decide for you, Darlene, but it'll have to be your own decision.
Unfortunately. I know what I should do. I should keep my typewriter and get rid of my other stuff. But I don't know if I can get myself to do that.
So you don't really need me to help you make a decision, do you? I think you already know.
Scared and tattered by all of of my problems, searching for answers, my heart's open wide. The choices we make, they fix our future. How can we know what's wrong or right? Talk to God, He's there to listen. Walk with Jesus, He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way. He'll show you the way.
I'll be back after this break. Something we'd all like to have and keep is a healthy body. We admire athletes and good-looking people in television commercials. But there's no guarantee that people born into this world will have the health we all like so much. And even when we are strong and healthy, there's no guarantee that we'll stay that way. We could have an accident or get an illness that would change our bodies. But that doesn't mean that we would become any less a person. As a matter of fact, some people who have handicaps become able to do more things than people who don't. Like Tracy in this true story.
Ruth and I were drawn closer to God as a result of Tracy's birth. We realized that we were going to need His help.
You always have the highest expectations of your child, like we're just married and we're in love and we're going to have a beautiful baby and our grandma and grandpa are going to be so proud. The morning after she was born, I woke up feeling really lonely, and Walter came and visited me in the morning, and Mom and Dad, and they read some scripture to me. They really encouraged me through the Bible verses, and my dad said that she has a beautiful soul. You know, you have to think about this baby and the soul that God has created here. And I decided right then and there that in the long run, I'm going to have to accept this baby.
We hadn't seen her at all since she was born. The nurses and doctors just whisked her away. But then when they brought her in the morning, and after this had all occurred, then they brought the baby in, and of course she was all cleaned up, and she was a beautiful little girl. And it was just, after that, for me, it was just no problem, and that was my girl, that's it.
She had so much hair, and I looked at her face, and she was happy, you know. There was just a live human being there, and then I looked at her toes, and she could open them apart, just like you could with your fingers. You open your fingers, and I was just amazed, and I thought, wow, God really created a beautiful little baby here. Nobody could have taken her away from us. Just seeing a newborn baby is seeing God at work in creation. He made her special. Right away, we could tell she was born with a beautiful personality. You could just see it in her eyes. She was full of life. It didn't happen right away. Like, we could accept it. That was from God too, just accepting it. Our pastor said, whatever you do, don't compare her to other children. But that was really hard for me to do, because I would go shopping and I would see babies the same age, and in myself, I would cry to myself and think, why does she have to suffer like this? It's not her fault. And I think I had to dig through scripture to get strength from God. I couldn't do it on my own. But also, we had a lot of support from our family, from our pastor, and from our friends. And together, we all drew closer to the Lord. And the school's just been fantastic. The teachers don't treat her any differently. They support her in her trials, and they help her through them. I've met a lot of people just through her, just because of her inquisitive mind, her bubbly personality. She'd just go up to anybody and ask them anything. She decides who's going to be her friend, and they really have no choice about it.
Tracy, she works very well with her feet. She very seldom asks for help. Everything she does, she has to do herself.
When she was little, she'd play with her Barbies for 2 or 3 hours at a time. And I noticed one time she was just struggling trying to get this shirt on the Barbie. The hands wouldn't cooperate and the shirt was kind of tight and she just couldn't get it. But I saw her working with that shirt for a half an hour to 45 minutes. She was determined to get that shirt on. When people come up to me and say, I feel so sorry for her, right in front of her, it makes me really upset because they don't know what she's capable of. They don't know how she adapts. They see her without arms and they think, oh, that poor child, she probably can't do anything. She must be so dependent on her mother. And I just tell them, well, she's really good with her feet. She does a lot with her feet. And then people right away, oh, really? They don't think that that's the way, she would get around it. Tracy's a real people person. She loves people, and the more people there are, the happier she is.
Something we need to do is keep our appetites in line, so that if we have disappointments where we can't have all the things we want, we don't need to become discouraged or get the feeling that we're not worth anything to people close to us and to God. Here's a Bible story about people who thought they would lose everything, even their lives. Fortunately, there was someone there who knew God and prayed and helped them have faith when all seemed to be lost.
Paul was one of the main writers of the New Testament in the Bible. He tells a true experience that happened while he was on his way to Rome to go on trial for his Christian beliefs. They were traveling by ship. Paul and several other prisoners were in the custody of an officer who was kind to Paul. On occasion, he even gave him shore leave. Out to sea a couple of days, they encountered severe headwinds and they sailed with great difficulty. Because it was getting close to the end of the shipping season, it was a dangerous time to travel, and Paul spoke to the ship's captain about it. Now, Paul lived very close to God. He prayed a lot, and somehow he knew from God that there was trouble ahead, danger of shipwreck, loss of cargo, injuries, and death. He advised the captain to stay in a port called Fair Havens for the winter, but the ship's owner and the captain ignored his warnings. They decided to find a better wintering spot up the coast a piece. To top it off, just then a light wind began blowing from the south, and it looked like a perfect day for sailing. So they pulled up anchor and moved on. But the weather changed abruptly. A wind like a typhoon caught the ship and blew it out to sea. They had no choice but to run at the mercy of the gale. Finally, they got in behind a small island. At least they weren't being blown out to sea anymore, but they were in danger of being shipwrecked on a sandbar. They tied ropes around the hull to keep it from breaking apart. The next day, the waves came in higher than ever. The sailors threw cargo overboard, and the tackle, anything they could lay their hands on. The storm went on for so many days that they lost hope of surviving. No one was eating, and finally Paul called them all together. You should have listened to me, he reminded them. But cheer up, not one of us will lose our lives, even though we might lose the ship. I believe God and serve him. Last night an angel appeared to me and told me not to be afraid. We will be shipwrecked, but all of our lives will be saved. The storm was driving the ship closer to shore. Fearing rocks, the sailors threw out the anchors. Some of the sailors came up with a scheme to save themselves by making a getaway in the emergency boat. Paul discovered them and warned the commanding officer that everyone must stay aboard or all would be lost. They cut the ropes and let the boat fall. Paul begged people to eat, for their own good. Not a hair of your heads will perish, he said. Then he took some food himself, thanked God for it in front of them all, and ate. Through his encouragement, all 276 people on board felt better and began eating too. The next morning, they saw that they were near a bay with a beach, They decided to go for it. They cut the anchors and ran the ship toward shore, but they hit a sandbar. The violent waves began to break the ship apart. The soldiers advised the commanding officer to let them kill the prisoners to avoid any possibility of escape. But he wanted to spare Paul and nixed the plan. Everyone jumped overboard, swimming or floating on debris to the shore, and everyone made it safely. They soon found themselves in the company of friendly islanders who made a fire to warm them in the rain and cold. Looking back, each one of these grateful survivors could see what a difference it made to have Paul on board. Some may have dismissed the insights he had from God and his prayers and concern for everyone. Others probably noticed that it was God that made the difference in Paul's life and decided to get to know God better themselves. Whatever people decided to do about it, it made a big difference to have a man of God like Paul on this trip.
It's amazing how our appetites change when death is a distinct possibility. I'll be back with more after this. We've moved a long way in our program on appetite today. We talked about our stomachs that growl when they want to be filled. We also said that something inside of us wants to have happiness and enjoyment. The mistake we make too often is thinking that all the things we crave for will make us happy. We should enjoy the good gifts God gives us, but nothing should ever become so important to us that it shuts God out of our lives. He, through His Son Jesus, is the most important gift we can receive. Say, we'd like to hear from you. When you write, we'll send you this survival kit. It has a number of things you should find interesting, like this cartoon book, these cards, and a book of the Bible. Just write to the Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's the Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'll be waiting to hear from you.